1989 Honda Prelude Si 4WS. Watch this. Watch this. Oh! Four-wheel steering.
Did I just notice a Prelude Si? What's the mileage on this Prelude Si? 4WS is best for Si. Only if you just believe.
The 80s were amazing for experimentation. Let's have all the technology, all at once. Don't worry. We'll figure out how to make it reliable later. This is a third-generation Honda Prelude Si Survivor. Tape deck, mixtapes, and controls for both machine guns and missiles on the Autobox lever taken straight out of Afterburner 2, the arcade cabinet. Here comes Thomas the Tank Engine, and he has diarrhea. He sprayed his train turds all over the roundhouse. Sir Topham Hatt saw it all happen with a boner. All-wheel steering. Okay. All right. At full lock, the rear wheels turn 5 degrees opposite the front wheels. That doesn't sound like much. Yeah, nah. Watch this. This is a tractor tire. And watch this lewd circle it. Yes. Oh, hello. I'd like to make a deposit into the Spank Bank. The remarkable thing about Prelude's optional four-wheel drive system is it's fully mechanical. No computers to determine how and when the rear wheels turn. Once the steering shaft, connected to your steering wheel, rotates past a set point, power is sent to a small rear gearbox via a skinny drive shaft. It's not really a drive shaft, more of a PTO shaft, which is connected to a rear gearbox, which at a glance presents as a baby differential. And that turns two half shafts, which aren't half shafts, really tie rods, which shove the rear wheels around. And because the Prelude 4WS is just gears and rods, the rear wheels will turn no matter what. Once you turn the steering wheel past about 80 to 90 degrees, those rear wheels will turn at any speed. It's VTEC for steering. Turning the wheel, when you turn the steering wheel in the beginning, like when you just begin to turn it off centerline, it feels just like a normal car because it is a normal car. The rear wheels aren't doing anything yet, but once you pass the engagement point, the car starts turning 2 times faster even though you are turning the steering wheel at the same rate. Or think of it like this. Once the right side of the steering wheel meets with your turn signal stalk, which is on the left side of the steering wheel, you get VTEC steering. And also, you run the risk, one of the things you can't do with Prelude with four-wheel drive steering is that if you are parked right up next to the curb, you can't crank your wheel. You know, you do that, you crank the wheel and the car isn't moving, you just angle your wheels out like you would with any normal car. Because if you do that, the rear end of your car is going to kick out because it's also turning, and you'd hit the rear quarter panel on the curb or some high or a mailbox or a trash can. The whole point of four-wheel drive steering is that you have a tighter turning circle, but if you're up next to something, you can't turn the wheel too far, otherwise the back of the car will kick out and hit it. So why did they do this? Well, forget observers. Sometimes art is just for the artist. The Prelude Si is a strange case in that it featured similar proportions to the successful second-generation Prelude, but with a slightly larger wheelbase and a length that increased from 169.1 inches to 175.6 inches, like Andre the Giant at half-mast. The chassis now had a double wishbone suspension for the first year, as well as 2 new 2-liter 4-cylinder engine options, because it's not as if there weren't already 8 different engine choices depending on which part of the world you managed to Carmen Sandiego yourself. This Prelude has the B20A5, which is a 2-liter double-cam fuel injection, that's PGM FI engine, making 135 horsepower or 101 kilowatts. And it ran contrary to the base Prelude S, which ran on a twin-carbureted single-overhead cam 12-valve, making a slimmer 104 horsepower at 5,800 RPM. But the 4WS SI ran on this fuel injection double cam 16 valve 135 horsepower at 6,200 RPM engine, which up until that point was among one of the most powerful production car engines Honda had ever produced on the road. Its only real equal in engine size was Toyota's 4A GE supercharged 1.8 liter, which made 145 horsepower. That engine was found in the United States in the supercharged version of the MR2, first generation Mark 1B. I didn't have that one though. I just had the NA. Oh well. But then this was the 80s, where style was constantly teabagging substance, and your average mouth-breathing consumer really didn't give a visible queef about what was going on beneath the hood. No one seemed to care that the SI was powered solely by variations of the Honda B2 motor, or Honda's PGM fuel injection system. They just cared that it looked cool. Hell, the regular Prelude Si wasn't even top of the line anymore in the United States. This 4WS was a tier above Si. And they have badging inside the car that just says four-wheel steering. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But all this really does in day-to-day life when you take it to car shows, I mean, the owner told us this. She parks the car and, cranks the wheel over. And instead of people being excited to see a four-wheel drive steering car, a survivor from the 80s, all you get is Uncle Pull Tab types coming up and saying, whoa, whoa. Hey, I hate to tell you, but I think your rear wheels need an alignment. There's something seriously wrong with your car. And the owner says, no, this is four-wheel steering. It's supposed to be like this. Well, you better go get it checked out anyway. And they waddle off, going back to their frickin' Chevy Bel Airs and their frickin' fuzzy dice and their fat wives. Yeah, eat another chili dog and talk about the good times. Yeah, you say you like Roy Orbison, but the only song you know is Pretty Woman. Posers. Back in '89, the 4WS went for $17,945, which equals around $36,712 in 2008. For all its mechanical and technological peacocking, the 4WS wasn't actually that well received by the average consumers in comparison to the regular SI, because it cost close to $1,500 more than the plain old SI, without much in the way of a meaningful difference apart from its wheels. It was almost as if the 4WS was a student who faked sick on test day so he'd have an extra day to study for the makeup. Yeah, it's impressive that you got a 97, but let's see how you do on your next test. Of course, the automotive media went crazy for this thing back in the day. Road and Track proclaimed the '88 Honda Prelude Si 4WS easily outperforming Porsche, Ferrari, Corvette on the slalom, reaching a top speed of up to 65.5 miles an hour. And the Prelude Si 4WS was named Car of the Year by Wheels magazine in 1987. And then there's Motor Trend, who published their review of the third-gen model in 1988. They said,
"What do you do with a car that leads the field in total performance and offers great comfort and convenience to boot? You place it high in the charts, that's what you do. And that's what we done with the Prelude Si. And remember, kids, no breakfast is complete without a tall glass of whole milk, a pack of Lucky Strike cigarettes, and a hearty spoonful of powdered lead. Good old-fashioned Cincinnati powdered lead. It strengthens the constitution. It steadies the troubled hand. Lead! Lead! Lead!
The Prelude is one of those cars that survives on what it meant at the time of its release. It was Japan kicking things up a notch in the design game in comparison to the domestics we were getting here at the time. Ugh. So it's viewed as this magnificent bastard by some in the car community, because it's the summit of all things 80s, all the hopeful visions of the 80s. It's Hulk Hogan dropping the leg on Macho Man Randy Savage and getting the title back. It's a record town bag filled with discount cassette tapes. And it's all of Chicago and Pet Shop Boys and Frankie Goes to Hollywood, a time of neon lights and neon thoughts and the ambition of design for its own sake. But what is it like to drive? The power is wanting. Yes, this is the best engine you could possibly get in a Prelude in the 80s. But we've become spoiled by the new Turbo Civic. That's the new benchmark. Now, for its day it was fast, but now it's really all about style. That's why you would buy a classic Prelude. I mean, great visibility on the inside. This thing is a Radwood star. It's fun in parking lots. Yes, you can turn around like crazy. This is going to entertain you, but this is weird technology. And unlike your Winga-Dinga cars, there's no Summit Racing catalog for taking care of these things. But because it's not a 4th-gen Prelude, they're still cheap. It's not the most powerful one, but it is the weirdest one. I'm reminded of Fred's Down the Rabbit Hole episode on Henry Darger. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. The outsider artist, who created a body of work, both visual and written, and showed it to no one. He was an unremarkable man who created esoteric art for himself. Darger created for the sake of creation, and only after his death was his stocks and stacks and crates of art and writing discovered and appreciated, critically and commercially. The Prelude Si4WS was the result of engineers and designers wanting to express themselves. Engineering for the joy of creation, creativity for the beauty of execution. We're Honda. We did it. Look, it's a fully mechanical 4-wheel drive system. It works. We did it. It's done. We're not waiting for the future. It's here now. Go out there and have fun.